Have you ever had that feeling that your company has, I don't know, a mind of its own? Like a decision happens in one department and suddenly there's chaos in another, and no one saw it coming? Well, you're not wrong. Because underneath the official org chart and all the processes, there's a hidden system running everything. It's this network of interconnected parts where every single action has a reaction. And today, we're going to map that system out.
So, to get us started, let's just chew on them for a second. What is the true cost of hiring the wrong person? Now, if your first thought is just their salary, you are missing about 90% of the picture. The real cost? It's a ripple effect. It's a domino that falls and triggers a dozen others you never even thought about. And answering this one question is what unlocks the hidden system at the very heart of your organization.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start small, uncovering the hidden costs buried in just a single choice. Then we'll zoom out to see why no company can survive in a bubble. From there, we'll look at talent in a whole new way, as a supply chain. We'll trace that domino effect I mentioned. And finally, we'll put all the pieces together so you can really see the big picture.
Okay, first step, let's talk about those hidden costs. You know, every single choice made at work, from a new software to a new hire, has consequences we just don't see at first glance. But what if you had a tool to spot them before they happen? Well, that's where this really powerful framework called utility theory comes into play.
Now, don't let the name scare you off, okay? It sounds super academic, but utility theory is really just a structured way of thinking. It forces you and your team to stop and ask the tough questions, like, what are we really trying to do here? What are all the possible outcomes, the good and the bad? And what's the true value of each of those? Especially the costs that will never, ever show up on a spreadsheet.
Let's make this real. Imagine you're in charge of training a brand new group of employees. You've got two different strategies you can use, and you have to pick one. This is a classic example where just looking at the sticker price can lead you straight off a cliff.
So, at first glance, the choice seems like a no-brainer, right? Strategy 2, a single class for everybody, is 70 grand cheaper than the first option. Why on earth would you spend more? But see, that's only looking at the surface. The hidden cost of that cheaper option is that your best people get bored and quit, while others fall behind and get totally overwhelmed.
And here it is. This is the real price of that savings. You get 25% fewer successful graduates. Just think about that for a second. To save a little bit of money up front, you've basically crippled your future talent pool. And that is exactly the kind of disastrous trade-off that utility theory drags out of the shadows and into the light. This really gets to the magic of this framework. As some experts pointed out way back in the day, it makes your values plainly revealed. It takes a hidden assumption, like cheaper is always better, and it forces it right out into the open where everyone can see it and debate it. That kind of transparency isn't a weakness. It is a massive strategic asset.
All right, so let's zoom out a bit. Just like single decisions have hidden costs, whole organizations have these hidden connections to the world around them. You see, no company, I don't care how big it is, can survive in a bubble. And this is the core idea behind systems thinking.
For the longest time, a lot of companies acted like closed systems. They were totally focused on themselves, they were convinced they had all the answers, and they basically ignored everything happening outside their four walls. But a modern, resilient company? It's an open system. It's constantly interacting with its environment, the market, its customers, new tech, and it adapts. It's kind of the difference between being a dinosaur and being a mammal.
And believe me, history is an absolute graveyard for closed system thinkers. Kodak literally invented the digital camera and then buried the technology because they wanted to protect their film business. Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix and basically laughed them out of the room. Sony, the king of the Walkman, completely missed the boat on digital music and just handed the entire market to Apple. They were all just staring inward while the world outside changed forever.
So how does an open system actually stay alive? Well, it breathes. It inhales inputs from the outside world, people, money, information. Then it transforms them inside the company into something valuable. Then it exhales outputs, its products and services. And here's the most important part. It listens to the feedback. That feedback loop is everything. It's a constant, vital conversation with reality.
Now, let's take this open systems thinking and apply it to one of the most critical parts of any business, getting the right people in the door. It's time to stop thinking about hiring as a bunch of disconnected steps and start seeing your talent pipeline as a single, integrated supply chain.
The old way of hiring is just broken. It's built on these silos. The recruiting team finds a bunch of names and throws them over the wall. The screening team filters them and throws the survivors over another wall to the hiring managers. Each group is only focused on their tiny little step, and they're often not even talking to each other. It's a total recipe for inefficiency.
A supply chain view totally flips the script. The goal is no longer just making one department faster or one step cheaper. Instead, you want to optimize the entire flow of talent, from the very first moment someone hears about your company to their first day on the job. It's all about making the whole system work together seamlessly.
This really shows you that entire flow as one connected process. It starts super wide by creating a pool of potential talent out there in the market. Then you work to attract the right people from that pool to actually apply. And finally, you choose the absolute best through careful screening and selection. Think of it like a funnel. The goal is to make the entire journey from top to bottom as smooth and effective as possible.
And here's the real game changer. You can measure it. All of a sudden, you can see where the bottlenecks are. You can start asking really smart, strategic questions. Like, is it better to invest more money up front to attract an amazing pool of candidates? Or should we spend more on the back end trying to filter through a mediocre one? You're not guessing anymore. You're optimizing the entire investment.
Okay, so we've gone from a single decision to the whole organization to the talent supply chain. Now, let's zoom out one last time to see the ultimate hidden system, the employment domino effect. This shows how every single people-related activity inside your company is connected to everything else.
Here's what we have to realize. The employment process doesn't end when someone signs that offer letter. Oh no, that is just the beginning of a long, long chain of connected decisions. Every performance review, every training session, every new project, it's all a continuation of that initial choice to hire someone, and it's a test of whether it was the right one.
And because it's all connected, a tiny change in one link of that chain causes this reverberating effect everywhere else. Think about it. If your performance reviews show that new hires are struggling with a certain skill, is that a training problem? Or does it mean your initial job analysis was wrong, which means your recruitment ads were misleading, which means your interview questions were totally flawed? See, one domino at the very end can knock over the very first one you set up.
This chart really shows it in action. See how it's a circle? The analysis of the work you need done informs how you recruit. That affects who you select. Selection determines what kind of training they're going to need. And their performance on the job provides feedback that should circle all the way back to the start, updating the very definition of the role itself. It's not a straight line, it's a living, breathing feedback loop.
Okay, so we've laid out all the pieces. Hidden costs, open systems, supply chains, domino effects. But look, theory is useless if you can't put it into practice. So let's bring all this home and see what kind of real strategic choices this way of thinking actually unlocks for you and your team.
Here's a perfect example, the classic strategic choice between making and buying talent. Do you buy talent by hiring super experienced people who can hit the ground running on day one? Or do you make talent by hiring for raw potential and then investing a ton in their training and development? Neither one is right or wrong, but a systems thinker understands that these two choices have completely different ripple effects on your cost, your culture, and your company's long-term future.
So let's just boil this all down. If you're going to remember 4 things from this, make it these. 1. Look past the sticker price. See the hidden costs behind every single decision. 2. Your organization is not a fortress. View it as an open system that has to adapt to survive. 3. Treat your talent pipeline like a supply chain that you can actually measure and optimize. And 4. Recognize that every single decision about people causes ripples across the entire company.
So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. When you're at work tomorrow, just pick one tiny part of your hiring process, a single interview question, one line in a job description, anything, and ask yourself, if I change just this one thing, what's the first domino to fall? And then what's the next one? Following that chain, that is the first step to finally seeing the hidden system that's running your entire company.